Shalom, shalom, Israel, shalom. I'm going to be starting soon, just giving a second for everybody to join in. So give me one sec. Once again, shalom, shalom to everybody that's starting to tune in. We're going to start in a minute. We're going to start in just a second, just giving them more time for people to join in. But today we're just going to talk about the fall feast that's approaching, the holy days that's coming up in the fall season. And for those who don't know, real quick, the fall equinox is September 22nd. For those who don't know, that's important. The fall equinox is September 22nd. So after the equinox, start looking for that new moon to come in because that's going to start your seventh month. So the fall equinox is September 22nd. So watch out for that.
Hey, shalom, shalom.
Shalom.
That must be a crazy delay.
No, I hear you good.
Okay, con.
I'll start in a second. I was letting them know that the fall equinox is September 22nd. So that new moon after the 22nd is what everybody should be looking for. That's going to start the seventh month.
Con.
Is after September 22nd, which is October the 7th. If you all follow the lunar solar, because you need both. And I'll do a lesson on that too, more specifically about what calendar to follow. Some people call it the Enoch, some people call it the lunar. But you need both. You need both to be able to keep the feast days, to know when to keep the dates, and to know when the seasons are. You can't have one without the other. You just can't just go full, all moon with no sun. You need the sun to know what season to keep the feast days in, and vice versa. You just can't just go solar. You need the moon as well. So I'll do a lesson on that later on as well. But for those who know and understand and is wondering, fall equinox is September 22nd. So for us, on the seventh month, the first day, that's trumpet. So for us, that'll be October the 7th at even. Not October the 6th, not October the 8th, October the 7th, because we look for that first light. New light, new moon. And that'll be another lesson as well. New light, new moon. So October the 7th is when that light comes out, that first light comes out. So this lesson gonna be a little different, just for those who, a milk lesson for those who may need it on the fall feast, on when they come in and how to keep it and when to keep it, 'cause that's important too. So for the fall feast, you have trumpets, you have Day of Atonement, and then you have tabernacles. So trumpets, atonement, and tabernacles. Those the three feast days that we're going to go over for the fall season, and it's not going to be long. Um, Brother Ezekiel, Shalom, Shalom. Cooking with Kablees. I'm saying it right. You said October the 6th, 7 o'clock a.m. new moon. Now, according to my calculations, that will still be when the dark moon, the conjunction, is still out. So we don't go by the conjunction moon, we don't go by dark moon, we go by first light. So according to our calculations, our new moon will be the next day. Because at the conjunction, it takes about 24 to 36 hours for that light to come out. So that's why ours is October the 7th at evening. So just a little FYI. But again, I do have a lesson on that coming soon. So if you want to wait for that, that's going to be coming out real soon, Lord willing. So speaking of new moon, you might as well get into it because that's the 7th month, the first day of the 7th month. It's a new moon, which is the blowing of trumpets. So we can start with that. All praises. So the blowing of trumpets, which is the first day of the 7th month. Let's get Leviticus 23, verse 23. And again, shalom to everybody tuning in. So Lord willing, this will be edifying for y'all. Y'all get some clarity, understanding on the fall feast that's coming up.
Said 23 and 23.
Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 23.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 23. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, In the 7th month, and the first day of the month, shall ye have a Sabbath, a memorial of blowing of trumpets, and holy convocation.
You can pause right there. So it says, speaking to Israel, because we are Israel, right? Obviously. He says, in the 7th month, in the first day, shall you have a Sabbath. So we know a Sabbath, that's a rest day. We're doing no work, no servile work. We're not doing anything outside of celebrating that 7th month on the first day. It says, shall you have a Sabbath, a memorial blowing of trumpets, a holy convocation. The word convocation is a gathering. So it's a celebration. Just like how in the world we celebrated 4th of July, we celebrated Easter, we celebrated Lent and Thanksgiving and Christmas and all this nonsense, New Year's. Same thing with this. It's a holy convocation. It's a holy gathering. It's a holy celebration. But on this day, we blow the trumpet. Why? Because this is the start of the 7th month. But every new moon we blow the trumpet. So they're showing you that every moon, every new month, we're supposed to have a memorial blowing the trumpet, but this one is a little bit different. So real quick, go to Psalms 81 and 3. Just to further elaborate. Psalms chapter 81 and verse 3.
All right, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 81 and verse 3. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon, and the time appointed on our solemn feast day.
So it says to blow up the trumpet in the new moon. So every new moon we blow the trumpet, but this one is a little bit different because this is the memorial blowing the trumpets. It's a high holy day. Keep going. Verse 4.
Verse 4. For this was a statute. Yeah, 81. Right. I'm tripping. That's
right.
For this was a statute for Israel, and a law of the God of Jacob. This he ordained in Joseph for a testimony.
Right. So real quick, it says, for this was a statute for Israel, meaning this a law. You know, we are supposed to be doing this. Coming into the truth, we let go of all the worldly holidays, all the worldly traditions, and we keep this now. So this is a statute for Israel in the law of the God of Jacob. So we're supposed to be doing this. Keep going out, verse 5.
When he went out through the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not, I removed his shoulder from the burden. His hands were delivered from the pots. Thou callest in trouble, and I delivered thee, and I answered thee in the secret place of thunder. I proved thee at the waters of Meribah, Salah.
And you can stop there. All right? So that's the whole point. The whole point is every new moon we blow the trumpet, but on the seventh month, on the first day, there's a special high holy day called the memorial blowing the trumpets, and that's what we're supposed to do. That's the start of the fall season of the lunar month. That's when we start keeping the fall feast days in that month. It's after the memorial blowing the trumpets. So real quick, I'm gonna read this out of Philo Judaism. If y'all don't have this book, man, listen, I encourage y'all to get this. There's some good stuff in here. It's the works of Philo Judaism. Okay, and for those who don't know, he was an Israelite from the first century, tribe of Levi. So he was studied in the law himself. He was brought up in the law and the customs of Israel. So definitely check this up. Y'all get a chance. You know, he brings a lot of things into perspective alongside with Josephus. So check this out, right? Because he talks about the festivals. Matter of fact, I'll take it from the beginning. Because he's gonna elaborate on the law. So check this out, right? I'm gonna start on this the special laws too on page 572, and I will start at verse 40. It says, "Now we have already spoken at some length about the virtue of the number seven, explaining what nature it has in reference to the number 10, and also what a connection it has to the decade itself, and also to the number four." We'll jump down a little bit. It says, "But we must examine every one of the special matters which are before us as comprehended in this one, beginning with the first, talking about the festivals." It says, "The first matter to be considered is that of the festivals. Now there are 10 festivals in number as the law sets them down." It says, "The first is that which are one will perhaps to be astonished to hear called a festival. This festival is every day. The second festival is the seventh day, which the Hebrews in their native language call the Sabbath. The third is that which comes after the conjunction, which happens on the day of the new moon in each month. The fourth is the Passover, which is called the Passover. Excuse me. The fifth is the first fruits of the corn, the sacred sheaf. The sixth is the feast of unleavened bread, after which that festival is celebrated, which is really the seventh day of 7 days. It says the eighth is the festival of the sacred moon of the Feast of Trumpets." You see that? Because that's what we're talking about, trumpets. And then it says the ninth is the fast. We know that's to be what? Day of Atonement. It says the 10th is the Feast of Tabernacles, which is the last of all the annual festivals, ending so as to make the perfect number of 10. We must now begin with the first festival. So now we're going to go through it and break down each high holy day, break it down on how to keep it and why to keep it. So we're going to jump to the eighth, which is the trumpet, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the three fall festivals. It says, "Immediately after comes the festival of the sacred moon, in which is the custom to play the trumpet in the temple at the same moment that the sacrifices are offered, from which practice this is called the true Feast of Trumpets. And there are two reasons for it, one peculiar to the nation, and the other common to all mankind. Peculiar to the nation as being a commemoration like, of that most marvelous, wonderful, and miraculous event that took place when the holy oracles of the law were given." So when they was given the law, they blew the trumpets. It says, "For then the voice of a trumpet sounded from heaven, which is the natural to suppose reached to the very extremities of the universe, so that so wondrous a sound attracted all who were present, making them consider as it is probable that such mighty events were signs betokening some great things to be accomplished." And that's why we blow the trumpet. We blow the trumpet signifying a great event of something that's happening. And that was a great moment when we received the law, where there was a great noise and the trumpets were blown. So that's why we keep this. We keep this on the eighth festival, the memorial of blowing the trumpets. So then he mentioned the ninth, which is what? The Day of Atonement. That comes right after on the 10th day. Let's get Leviticus 23 and 32. Right? If you want to add something too, you can go ahead and add as well.
Okay. This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 32.
Mm-hmm.
"It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls. And the 9th day of the month at even, from even unto even, shall ye celebrate your Sabbath.
Come on, read it one more time out. So like
Verse 32. It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your souls in the 9th day of the month at even. From even unto even shall ye celebrate your Sabbath.
right. So now we have the Day of Atonement. That's another fall festival where what? There's a nationwide fast. On this day, there's a nationwide fast. On the 9th day of even, from even to even, all the way to the 10th day of the even, is the what? The fast of the Day of Atonement. So during that time, there's no eating. We are afflicting our souls to the Most High, and we are fasting and afflicting our bodies. That's another feast day that we're supposed to keep on the fall festivals. So plain and simple, very plain and simple. As a matter of fact, we'll keep going. We'll keep going because the main one I want to talk about is tabernacles. That's the main one I want to really dig into in Leviticus 23 and verse 33.
Let me read it
And
again.
real quick, this won't be long either. This not going to be a long lesson, just to show y'all what's coming up, and how to prepare for it and how to keep it. So we mentioned not tabernacles, trumpets, and Day of Atonement. So here's the next big one, because remember the Most High required uh, for 3 holy days where the men present themselves before the Lord, and that was Passover, it was Tabernacles, and I believe it was Pentecost. So, but Tabernacles one of them, a big one that we got to keep.
Man, facts.
And I'll read that too and Deuteronomy, but go ahead, bring it out real quick.
All right, you said 23 and 33 again.
Matter of fact, you know what, Salaga, I'll read that first, then we'll dig into it.
Okay.
Just to clarify. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 16 and verse 16. It says, 3 times in the year shall all thy males appear before the Lord thy God in the place which he shall choose, in the feast of unleavened bread, and in the feast of weeks, which is Pentecost, and in the feast of tabernacles, and they shall not appear before the Lord empty. So these 3 specific holy days during that time is when we're supposed to be, all the men supposed to come before the Lord in the place he chose to present themselves, and they couldn't come empty, meaning you had to bring your oblations, your sacrifices, everything you're going to give to the Lord. You had to present yourself before the Lord on these 3 special high supreme holy days. These were the 3. So this is set apart. This is different. It's not like in the world where you got the main ones where you got what? Christmas is the main one in the world. Thanksgiving, Halloween, and what? New Year's, I think.
Yeah, New Year's, Christmas, New Year's, and Thanksgiving.
God. So in the world,
I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
all praises, all praises.
God, all praises. So right, exactly. So that shows how our mind not even in that realm no more. So in the world, those were the main holidays that heathens keep. And we all know they all have pagan rituals. We don't keep that. They pagans, but we peculiar. We holy, we special, and set apart. So these right here, these the holy days we keep in righteousness. Everything else is not of the Lord and is wicked in the world. So those 3 special holy days, the men present themselves before the Lord, and they mention tabernacles. So now let's go back, and then we're gonna break it down in depthly.
And Leviticus 23.
23 and verse 33.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 23 and verse 33. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, The 15th day of this 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord.
Now look, check this out, right? Because I don't know if I've mentioned this before on this channel, but remember, it says the 15th day of the 7th month. We're going to dig into that as well later on, because that's important. The 15th day of the 7th month is the Feast of Tabernacles. But keep going up.
Verse 35. On the first day shall be an holy convocation. Ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. And on the 8th day shall be an holy convocation unto you. And ye shall offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord. It is a solemn assembly, and ye shall do no servile work therein.
Right, because it's a day of celebration. We
God.
know in the world when we celebrate the holidays, everything was shut down, was closed. For the most part,
Mhm.
everything was shut down and was closed because
Yep.
it's a celebration. The nation is celebrating the holiday. It's the same way within our nation. On these days, the first and the last day, there's no work because it's a holy gathering.
Mhm.
It's a holy gathering. It's a holy celebration, a day of gladness. We feasting, drinking, having a good time, praising the Lord. That's what these are
God.
for. So these our laws, these our customs, these our holy days that we supposed to keep with confidence, with gladness, with pride.
Mhm.
So
The
keep going.
same, the
I'll go ahead.
same love, the same love that we have for the worldly traditions. We supposed to have that 100 times over for the traditions of our Father. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because we doing it in righteousness. You know,
Mm-hmm.
there's no half stepping in this. You know, so we know we not all. You know what I mean?
Come, come.
Uh, verse 37.
Real quick, hey, it's
Come.
funny because listen, in the world, right now, it's September, right?
Yeah.
In the world, they preparing for Christmas already.
Yeah. Yo, people got their lights up.
In the world, they preparing for Christmas already.
They got the layaway, the Christmas layaway at Walmart,
Yeah,
Toys R Us. Yeah, they got the Christmas layaway already going and everything.
they already preparing for Thanksgiving.
Yo, you know how, man, I'm glad that I don't hear those conversations no more. Be like, well, man, I already started on my Christmas. Hey,
Oh
I'm
my
preparing
God.
now. I got the layaway. I got stuff. They don't even see where it's at. They don't even like, oh man, come on.
Come on, right, right. So, like you said, so how much more now in the truth, man?
Yeah,
We supposed to be getting ready for tabernacles, man.
right. After
Back in
Passover.
July, you
Right,
know,
right. Like,
getting
yeah, I
ready
got
for
my
tabernacles.
tent. You feel what I'm saying?
You
I
know what
got
I'm
the
saying? Hey,
tent
look,
on lock.
hey, Oz bought me a new tent. It's weatherproof all year round. I'm telling you, look, I got my grill ready. You know
Hey,
what I'm
that's
saying?
real. I stacked up on coal, so we good. We don't need nothing,
Hey,
short. I'm
what they
trying to tell
call
you.
the right? What they call it?
The
The
charcoal
tiki
or the
lights?
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for
We're supposed
real,
to be
man.
doing that.
Man, that's real. That's
Prepare for
real.
tabernacles, get your camp spot ready. Oh yeah, I like this spot. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
ahead
this the
and
spot.
reserve this
This
one.
it. This the one. This the
That's the
one.
one right here. Yup,
Yeah,
yup,
you know what I'm
yup. Take
saying?
your
But
head count.
people, it's sad because sometimes and for some they just don't know. It's just ignorance of the whole way of keeping the feast days. Because I was ignorant to it first coming in for the first couple years. And I'm pretty sure I can say the same for a lot of us. But for the ones who know, it's like the same haste isn't made, the same seriousness about keeping the Most High's high holy days is not there. You know what I'm saying? So we got to have that same diligence that we
Mm-hmm.
had in the world in this truth, but even more in this truth. You know what I'm saying? Because we can't be lukewarm about nothing. You know?
Gone. That's right. So yeah, these are days of gladness, days of celebration,
Mm-hmm.
and these days have purpose.
God,
These days have righteous purpose. Not like again, it's not like in the world where we celebrating pagan holidays, and those all have what they have evil
mm-hmm.
origins,
Mm-hmm.
pagan roots,
Especially
satanic origins,
Christmas,
especially
man.
Christmas, satanic
Christmas.
origins.
Hey, look, Christmas was so wicked that they actually outlawed it for some hundreds of years
Yep, he
or a
did.
couple centuries. It was actually outlawed in
Yeah.
countries. You know what I mean? Because of how wicked it was. So that should tell you everything that you need to know right there about everybody's favorite holiday, the most celebrated holiday, of the year. You know what I
Uh,
mean? So,
uh,
worse than Halloween. And
yeah.
Halloween is the one that they usually be like, oh yeah, Halloween is this, that, and the third. But no, it's Christmas. Christmas is the one that's like, man, nah, stay away from that. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Halloween is a
Christmas,
different level.
yeah.
So
In my book, I would say Christmas makes Halloween look like a Saturday morning school special. You know what I mean? Correct me if
uh,
I'm wrong. you
uh,
know?
yeah, so
Yeah.
in the world, the fall holidays is what you have Thanksgiving,
Mm.
Hallows Eve,
All Hallows Eve, then
and
Thanksgiving,
then oh
then yeah.
Oh yeah,
Go
you're right. I'm tripping. Right, Hallows
ahead.
Eve, Halloween, and Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Now that's according to them in their fall season for the pagans.
Mm-hmm.
But Christmas is winter, but we have our fall holy days:
Mm-hmm.
tabernacles, trumpets, and atonement.
Con,
So while the
con.
world going to be celebrating those, we're going to be celebrating these.
Yep. All
All
praise to the
praise to the Most
Father.
High. Con,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's keep
Yeah.
going out in verse 37.
Con. Verse 37. These are the feasts of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, to offer an offering made by fire unto the Lord, a burnt offering and a meat offering, a sacrifice, a drink offerings, everything upon his day.
Con, exactly. So tabernacles, right? That's the main one thing I want to talk about. Tabernacles, that's a fun time, man.
Yeah, I was about to say, man, first off, it's fun. It's
Yeah,
fun.
it's fun. It's fun. So those who don't know, the
Yeah.
reason why, or who's watching don't know, the reason why we keep tabernacles is because Israel, we dwelt in the wilderness for 40 years,
Con,
dwelling in booths, mobile homes.
con.
We didn't have built up walls and built up houses. It was mobile. 40
Mm-hmm.
years in the wilderness. So because of that, the Most High made a law that, this is for us for perpetual, generations forever. We keep this in remembrance of that, how the Most High made us dwell in booths.
Con.
So in today's time, translate that to what? To tents. You get your tents, get everything ready, your sleeping bags, get
Mm-hmm.
your tiki lights, get your firewood, you get
Mm-hmm.
all those things you need to camp out. Cause that's the time where we camp out for 7 days if we
Con.
can. And like it says what? On the first day and on the eighth day, they're what? They holy convocation. Let me go back. It says, on the first day shall be an holy convocation, ye shall do no servile work therein. 7 days ye shall often offer made by fire unto the Lord. On the eighth day shall be an holy
Mm-hmm.
convocation unto you. So the first and the last days, these are holy gatherings where there's no work being done in. But some
Mm-hmm.
people can't camp it out for the full week.
Yeah, and if you can do it,
If
shoot,
you can
man.
do it, you know what I'm
Oh, shoot, I
saying?
wish I could, you know. I
Come.
mean, because I mean, look, man, last year we had
Yeah, we had fun last year.
we had
We had fun last year.
the whole whistle name was crazy, man. The whole whistle. In
Yeah.
fact, the first night, the very first night, we actually kept it in Drew Hill Park. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that know about Baltimore, Drew Hill Park isn't really the ideal. It's probably the if not the biggest, the second biggest park in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? And anybody that know, that's right by what. Well, actually, it's by West and East Baltimore. But that's not necessarily the ideal park that you want to go camping.
Right.
But we did it anyway because we
Made it
we we
work,
don't
yo.
fear. You know what I'm saying? We fear the Father. We know He got us. You know what I'm saying? Not to tempt Him, but yeah, we
Yeah.
did it. We made it work. We had some crazy events transpire through that night. Satan was trying to work, but it was all good, man.
Oh man, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
crazy.
we had a good time anyway. It wasn't nothing he could do to stop us. You know what I'm saying?
Con,
So yeah, it was
man.
wonderful, man. It was wonderful.
Exactly. See that day of gladness. That's how it
Yeah,
is.
yeah,
Now here's the
yeah.
thing, right? It's funny because some people may not be able to camp out in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.
They may not, be able to reserve a spot to go out, and keep it that way. But there's other ways you can keep it as well.
Gone.
Let's read it. Remember, precept upon precept, right? Check this
Line
out.
by line.
Let's go to Nehemiah chapter 8. Watch this. Nehemiah chapter 8. Let's start on verse. Start on verse 13.
13.
Nehemiah 8 and 13. Con.
8 and 13. All right. Let me see. It's the book of Nehemiah, chapter 8 and verse 13.
Mm-hmm.
And on the second day were gathered together the chief of the fathers of all the peoples, the priests and the Levites, unto
Mm-hmm.
Ezra the scribe, even unto Salaki, even to understand the words of the law.
Mm-hmm.
And they found written in the law, which the Lord had commanded by Moses, that the children of Israel should dwell in booths and the feast of their servant of the 7th month.
Right. See that? So that's tabernacles.
Con.
They read in the law. Remember, they at during this time they went back to rebuild the temple and gathered back together. So they was reading the law to see what the law says and how to keep the law. So they read where in the 7th month, as we just read, it was for time of tabernacles. So keep going out to dwell in booths. Verse 15.
Verse 15. And that they should publish and proclaim in all their cities and in Jerusalem, saying, Go forth unto the mount, and fetch olive branches, and pine branches, and myrtle branches, and palm branches, and branches of thick trees, to make booths, as it is written.
You see that? So back then they made their own booths. They took branches and trees and different stems and things like that, and they made their booths. So it's not like how today we can just go buy a tent. I mean, all praise to the Most High, we can do that now. But back then they had to make it from scratch.
Yeah, literally from nature.
From nature, exactly. They didn't have just put up tents they could just throw together.
Right, or a bunch of pieces that they got put together from scratch. Nah, they had to actually use the elements that was presented to them by the Father, by the Most High, that was out there, and put that stuff together, man. So
they couldn't use this. They couldn't use any branch. It had to be strong. Had to be durable.
Facts,
to build these tents up. It wasn't just regular flimsy little branches and sticks. No, they had
twigs.
to build and twigs. Right. They had to build these things up. Actual tents.
Man. All right.
So where we
had to take that joint down and put it back up and take that gotta be.
Yeah.
Well, that's work. We have verse 16. So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, everyone upon the roof of his house and in their courts.
Hold on, read that part again.
Everyone upon the roof of his house.
Read that part one more time.
Everyone upon the roof of his house.
So look, even back then, they didn't always go out to the wilderness
right
to keep it. You can keep it in your house, on the roof of your house if you can.
Yeah.
Or just in your area.
In your backyard, your front yard, whatever you got.
Exactly.
I mean, shoot, we finished out. We didn't finish out in the park. We finished out in the backyard.
In the backyard.
Hey, the backyard was bigger. It felt like we was in the wilderness.
Right, it's a big backyard.
Hey, especially walking down that side, you're like, oh, what's that in the bushes? Like, every night we just running like, nah, I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Bats, I don't know what it is. I ain't trying to find out.
God. So it says they made booths, everyone upon the roof of his house. Look, keep reading.
Come, I'm gonna take it from the top. So the people went forth and brought them and made themselves booths, everyone upon the roof of his house, and in their courts, and in the courts of the house of God, and in the street of the waters of the water gate, and in the street of the gate of Ephraim.
So wherever they were, they just pitched up tents in the city and they just kept it. So imagine going throughout, you just see tents up everywhere.
And see, the beautiful thing about it is, we was in our land, so we can do that. We could just set up a tent anywhere and know, like, you know what, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I ain't got to worry about no police saying, hey, what the hell you doing down here?
Right.
You ain't got to worry about nobody trying to run up and do anything. You know what I'm saying? Because we was all keeping the law in our land. So, hey, man.
It was a beautiful time back then.
Yeah, boy, I'm trying to tell you.
For some time, but, not for the most part, but for some time it was beautiful at one point. So where we at?
Verse 17. And all the congregation of them that were come again out of the captivity made booths and sat under the booths. For since the days of Jeshua, the son of Nun, until that day had not the children of Israel done so. And there was very great gladness.
So during the time of Nehemiah and Ezra, when they came back from the captivity, when they rebuilt the city, they turned out something serious on doing tabernacles. It wasn't done this big since from back then.
Yes, man. Hey,
God,
it's like, sometimes when you hear certain stories, you're like, dang, I wish I was around back then, man. Because like, look, I'm gonna tell you, even now, some of us can say, be like, dang, I wish I could have grew up in the 70s. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could have grew up in this time, but shoot, to grow up in a time, in the ancient times, where our people was on one accord, we knew who we were, we knew who our God was, we knew what we were supposed to be doing as a nation, as a people. it just hit different. It is so much
Mm-hmm.
different, you know. It is so much
Mm-hmm.
different. It's like you got that same camaraderie that you have during Christmas, you know, because it's like for Christmas to be as wicked as it is, yo, people be extra nice doing. You like, yo, what in the like people you wouldn't even think like they be extra nice. You be like, yo,
Gang
you know what I'm
violence
saying?
stop. You know what I'm saying? Now, listen. Not today. It's Christmas. I ain't gonna do it today, but tomorrow.
Right.
Tomorrow, I
Like,
got you.
yo, I'm trying
Catch
to
you
tell
right. I
you.
got you.
I'm trying to tell you, yo, you got rival gangs. Like, hey man, Merry Christmas, man. Not today, man.
Right, not today, man.
Look, man,
Ceasefire.
I'm getting stuff for my kids, man. Like, hey man, you know what? I don't even like you, but you need some help. Like,
Right.
I'm like, what the hell?
But tomorrow's back on.
But tomorrow, yo, you better not be down here, yo. But Merry Christmas, my nigga. Like, nigga. Hey, what you doing for that? All right, no. Forget it.
God,
What you doing for New Year's?
God,
Like,
God, right. God, hey, look, that's a good point. Listen, that's a good point, though. The same way we had that spirit in the world, we supposed to have that joyful spirit keeping these
yeah,
holidays,
the spirit
where
of
it's
giving,
nothing
the
but
spirit of
love and
love.
peace and,
Yeah, man.
concord, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's some serious concord. So we get last verse real quick. Last verse real quick.
Verse 18. Also, day by day, from the first day unto the last day, he read in the book of the law of God, and they kept the feast 7 days. And on the eighth day was a solemn assembly according unto the manner.
So imagine this feasting for 7 days or for 8 days straight. Imagine that. Every day was a feast for
Come.
7 days.
That's
That's a
love,
beautiful
man.
thing, man.
That's
So
love.
that's love right there. So the point is, I wanted to bring out because some people may not be able to camp out in the woods necessarily to keep tabernacles. I want to show you all that even back then they kept tabernacles in their own dwellings. They put
Come.
on the roof of their house, in the courts, wherever they could. They kept tabernacles, and we could do it
Hmm.
the same way.
Hmm.
So if if you're worrying about trying to find a spot to keep it, if you can't, don't worry about it. You keep it
Hmm.
within your house, within your own dwelling.
Hey, hey, look, I ain't gonna lie. One year, I can't remember what year it was, but we kept it in the living room. I used to live in the hood. You know what I'm saying? So I ain't feel. I was like, it's rats out here, so I'm not going to the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm
Calm.
saying? But we kept it right in the living room. We had a big living room. Put the tent up. And yeah, we did our thing 7 days.
Mm-hmm. And
So.
look, I'm gonna read it in Josephus to confirm it as well. Because guess what? Like I said earlier, Josephus is another good one, another good book to have, another Israelite historian. I believe from tribe of Levi, because he also mentioned this as well about keeping tabernacles.
Mhm.
So this is a good book to read, a good book to have when you study in the Word. So this is a book 3, chapter 10. I'm gonna start on paragraph 2. It says, "But on the seventh month, which the Macedonians call Hyperbertius, I'm saying it right, I'm saying it wrong, Salakia. it
It's all
says they
good.
it says they make an addition to those already mentioned, a sacrifice a bull, a ram, and 7 lambs, and the kid of the goats for sins.
Mhm.
It says on the 10th day of the same lunar month, it
Mhm.
says they fast till the evening. Remember before we mentioned Day of Atonement.
Mhm.
So again, on the same lunar month, they fast till the evening on the 10th day. It says, and this day they sacrifice a bull and 2 rams and 7 lambs and the kid of the goats for sins. Because atonement, you make atonement for your sins when you fast. It says, and beside these, they bring 2 kids of the goats, the one of which is sent alive out of the limits of the camp into the wilderness for the scapegoat. Because right, they had 2 goats, one they will kill and one they will let go
Mhm.
to lock it. It says, and to be an expiation for the sins of the whole multitude. For the other is brought into a place of great cleanness within the limits of the camp, and is there burnt with its skin without any sort of cleansing. With this goat was burnt a bull, not brought by the people, but by the high priest, at his own charges, which when it was slain, he brought the blood into the holy place together with the blood of the kids of the goats. So I'm gonna jump down because he just talked about sacrificing, but here's the point I want to get at. In paragraph 4, it says, upon the 15th day of the same month, when the season of the year is changing for winter, you see that? During this time, this is the last festival of the fall season. Now we know what on this calendar it's around December, right? When the season changed to winter, that's when it's getting cold around that time. So it says the year is changing for winter. The Lord enjoining us to pitch tabernacles in every one of our houses. Josephus saying the same thing. We just read that in Nehemiah. So you can pitch up your tents in your houses in your dwellings. You can do that. If you can't go out, if you can't go out and keep it in the woods or in the wilderness, or if the weather is too extreme, you can keep it in your house. It says, so that we preserve ourselves from the cold of that time of the year. So around that time it was getting cold as crap.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they didn't want to go out, and risk it to keep tabernacles. They kept it in their house. You can do that. That's also lawful. So if anybody's saying, no, you got to go out to the wilderness, you got to do that. You can. It's better if you do, but you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? You keep it right in your house.
And I want to say this real quick, just real quick, two things real quick. It's funny how they get a lot of stuff from scripture, just the sayings and things like that, like scapegoat, like that's the scapegoat, like that's a real thing. It comes from the Bible. You know what I'm saying?
Scapegoat.
And then the second thing I want to say,
side note, look, drop a little gem. You know what scapegoat mean in Hebrew?
What do you mean?
Azazel. If you know, you know. I'm gonna just say that.
Oh.
If you know, you know. I'm gonna just say that.
Oh, no, say it again. Say it again.
Azazel. If you know, you know.
Oh, that's crazy. Yo, stop playing. Are you serious?
I'm dead serious, yeah.
Dang. Yo, that's wild. That's wild. Hey, but the second thing I wanted to say is I forgot, man. that kind of feel like dang. Man. Yeah, that's wild. That's wild, though. Oh, no. What I was gonna say is it's sad that a lot of people forsake the forbidden books or the whatever it is because of what man say instead of examining them for themselves. Because when you know scripture and you read these books, you see how it ties into each other. You can see that there's no way that these books could be false or made up or not canonical or whatever whatever you want to say. But just to sit up here and be like, oh yeah, those books are off just because another man said it's off is foolish. It's very foolish. Examine it for yourself. Always examine for yourself. Study to show thyself approved, follow no man. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, we can continue out.
I take it from top again. We talk about tabernacles. All praises for that, though. It says, upon the 15th day of the same month, when the season of the year is changing for winter, the Lord enjoins us to pitch tabernacles in every one of our houses, so that we preserve ourselves from the cold of that time of the year. As also that when we shall arrive at our own country and come to that city which we should have done for our metropolis, because of the temple therein to be built, and keep a festival for 8 days, and offer burnt offerings and sacrifice thank offerings, that we should then carry in our hands a branch of myrtle and willow and a bowl of the palm tree, with the addition of the pomace citron from Samurai Salakia. So again, the point is to show y'all how we don't have to go out to the wilderness, try to find a camp spot. If you can, again, if you can, I recommend doing it because it's much more fun. It's a better experience doing it that way. But you can keep it within your house. You can do it as well. That's also lawful. So we read it in Nehemiah, we read it in Josephus. So get your tents ready, however you want to keep it, and just keep it. Dwell in your tents for 7 days. And on the first and 8th day is holy, so holy gathering. So real quick, right? So we read that from real quick, get John chapter 7 real quick. To show you how they also in the New Testament they kept tabernacles. Hamashiach and the disciples and all the people, they also kept tabernacles as well. Every holy day we read, we can find that in the New Testament. They kept it in the New Testament. So real quick, John chapter 7 and verse 2 through 3, real quick.
Excuse me. This is the book of John, chapter 7 and verse 2. Now the Jews' feast of tabernacles was at hand. His brethren therefore said unto him, Depart hence, and go into Judea, that thy disciples also may see the works that thou doest.
So we see here in the New Testament, Hamashiach disciples, they also kept the feast days. You know, you got a lot of Christians say, "Oh, those laws done away with. You know, we don't keep those holy days." That's a lie. We see how in the New Testament, the apostles, disciples, and Christ Himself, if we follow of Christ, we got to do what He do, right? They kept the feast days as well. So that's showing right there. The Jews' feast of tabernacles was at hand, meaning they was getting ready for it. It's coming up close on tabernacles. So guess what? They probably kept it the same way we read in Nehemiah. They pitched tents all throughout their houses, through the courts and the gates, throughout the whole city. You probably seen tents pitched up, and they was keeping it for 7 days. So look, right? So again, I'm gonna come back to Josephus because we're talking about tabernacles. He mentioned the same thing. Check it out. It says the 10th festival. Remember, this is the last high holy day that we find in the law. It says the last of all the annual festivals is that which is called the Feast of Tabernacles, which is fixed for the season of the autumnal equinox. That's why in the beginning, if y'all was here in the beginning, I mentioned the fall equinox is September 22nd. That's very important. The new moon after the equinox, that's going to start your 7th month because now you're officially in that fall season. The fall season don't start until after the fall equinox. It's very important. So if you keeping it before the equinox, your feast days are still off. It's the new moon after the fall equinox. So I read again. It says,
don't let nobody tell you, Salaki, don't let nobody tell
what?
you it don't matter. Don't let nobody tell you it
Con,
don't matter. Because people
con.
know, well, it doesn't matter as long as you rehearsing the righteous acts.
No,
No.
it
It
matters.
matters. It
Con,
matters. Just like saying the proper name of the Father and His Son. It matters. You
it
know.
matters because what's happening is this is why it matters. The Most High has His holy days for a strict time, for a specific reason, for a specific purpose. So when we find ourselves keeping it on wrong days, what we're doing is we sanctifying and making unclean days a holy day. We're making holy days unclean days. So when you, for example, for meaning, if we're not keeping the holy days in its proper season, we're going to miss the mark on the holy day supposed to really be kept and how it's being kept in the heavens. Because remember, everything's reflecting from heaven to earth. So if we're not on the farthest time, we're missing out on the proper time to keep the feast days.
Yeah.
It's holy and sanctified in the heavens. So if we're doing it on a different day, we're off. We're not on tune with the Most High.
In fact, good example, right? We wouldn't dare, knowing what we know now that we being truth, continue to keep the Shabbat on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wouldn't continue to keep the Shabbat on Sunday or keep the Shabbat whatever day you want to keep it, then why do you think it's okay to keep the feast days, the high holy days, whenever you want to keep them? That don't make no sense.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So be led by the Spirit, not by man. I can't reiterate that enough. You know.
Exactly. That's a good point. So that's why I mentioned before, because he also mentioned it. After the autumnal equinox, after the equinox, that new moon starts your 7th month. That's when you're in the right season to keep the fall festivals. So I took it from the top. It says, the last of all the annual festivals is that which is called the Feast of Tabernacles, which is fixed for the season of the autumnal equinox. And by this festival, the lawgiver teaches 2 lessons, both that it is necessary to honor equality, the first principle and beginning of justice, the principle akin to unshadowed light, and that is becoming also, excuse me, after witnessing the perfection of all the fruits of the year, to give thanks to that being who has made them perfect. So it says, for the autumn, as its very name shows, is the season which comes after the fruits of the year are now gathered into the granaries on account of the providence of nature, which loves the living creatures upon the earth. So I just wanted to read that to show y'all that after the equinox, okay, after the equinox, we are entering the fall season. We want to look for that new moon. Now, watch this, real quick. Go back to Leviticus 23. Now, we got to think. The Most High could have made tabernacles be on the 18th day. He could have made it to be on the 20th day. But he says the 15th day, right? Read that part again on when the Leviticus 23. Was it 32
It's
or 33?
33, 32. Let's
Con.
see. It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 23, and verse 32.
Mm-hmm.
It shall be unto you a Sabbath of rest, and ye shall afflict your
No,
souls.
not that. It's, 30,
Verse 30, it got to be
34.
30. Verse 34. Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, the 15th day of this 7th month shall be the feast of tabernacles for 7 days unto the Lord.
Mm-hmm. Now watch this. Check this out, right? I'm gonna read something. Give me a second. Let me find it. Let me find it. Because it's the reason why on the 15th day. Something happens on the 15th day. Let me see if I can find it real quick. One sec. Oh, matter of fact, I'm in the wrong book, actually, I believe. Let me see. I might be in the wrong book. One sec. Hold on. Watch this. I'm going to find it.
Come. Yeah, man. You know.
While I find it, the point is the 15th day, if you're keeping it in the proper sign, if you keep it in the proper season, on the 15th day, you have a full moon.
Mm-hmm.
You have a full moon on the 15th day. And that's the same for the Passover. For the Passover, it's the 15th day, which is a full moon. Now I'm trying to find that where he mentions it, because that's key information. Here we go. Check this out, right? Now this is him talking about Passover, but watch this. It says, talking about the fifth festival. It says there's another festival combined with the feast of the Passover, having a use of food different from the usual one, and not customary, the use namely of unleavened bread from which it derives its name. So feast of unleavened bread is what? The 15th day. Check this out. I'm gonna jump down some more. It says, and this feast is begun on the 15th day of the month, in the middle of the month, on the day on which the moon is full of light. It says, and in consequence of the providence of God taking care that there shall be no darkness on that day. So guess what? The same way for Passover or Feast of Unleavened Bread, on the 15th day, you have a full moon. It's the same way with Tabernacles. On the 15th day, on the 7th month, you have a full moon. That's why it says what? The moon is it's a sign. It's a sign of feast, because why? On that 15th day, it's showing you that what? We in that right time to keep tabernacles.
Mm-hmm.
So when that new moon hits and you mark the 7th month, all you have to do is count 15 days and wait till you see that full moon. That's how you know it's the time, the exact time to keep tabernacles. That's how you know you're in the proper time to keep tabernacles. But I want to bring it up when he says it here, and for some reason I can't find it.
It's all good. It's all good. The most I allow you found it, you'll find it. But I think the evidence that we brought so forth has definitely been good. You know what I mean? Definitely. It's undeniable. And you got a lot of people that they just do what they want. They believe the Shabbat starts when the sun rises. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
They believe the new moon is on the full moon.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense, So I mean, hey.
Yeah, when the full moon is the beginning, it's the middle of the month.
Yeah.
It's the smack dead middle of the month on the full moon.
Smack dab in the middle. Right
Okay,
there
here we go.
in the middle.
Here we go right here. It says again, talking about tabernacles. It says the beginning of this festival is appointed for the 15th day of the month, on the account of the reason which has already been mentioned respecting the spring season. Because why? During the spring season, it's Passover. We just read that. So for the same reason, Passover on the 15th day, when that full moon, It's the same way on the 7th month, on the 15th day. We look for the same thing. It says, also that the world may be full, not by day only, but also by night, of the most beautiful light, the sun and moon on their rising opposite to one another, with uninterrupted light, without any darkness, interposing itself between so as to divide them. So meaning what? Again, on the 15th day of the 7th month, it's a full moon. That's how you know you're in the right time to keep tabernacles on the 15th day. So like we saying like earlier, because that goes to the whole new moon lesson I'm gonna do, little brother. You can't have a new moon on the full moon. You in the middle of the month. So if you try to count 15 days after that, you enter in a conjunction. That's not the sign to look for to keep the feast day. You're off. You're 15 days too late. Everything has to be in its proper season, its proper time, and proper day. That's why I said at the beginning, you need both. You need the moon and you need the sun to know when to keep the feast days exactly how it's supposed to keep it. You can't just have the moon and you can't just have the sun. You need both to know when to keep it in their proper season. The whole sky's a calendar. It's perfect. It's a calendar. We use it to understand when to keep the feast days, because if we don't keep it right, we're not going to be on the Most High's time. Right. And that's very important.
The moon, watching the moon is just like a baby, right? You're not gonna wait till your baby get 15 and be like, yeah, that's my newborn. Like it don't, you know what I'm saying? The newborn is when the baby first come out. Now that's just a newborn. It's fresh. You know what I'm saying? It's just like the moon. When the first sight, that first light, that's the new moon.
God. That first light is that new moon. New light, new moon. That's all it means.
Yeah.
New light, new moon. That's all it means.
There's no reason to complicate it or, keep it simple. You got some people, some brothers that just want to be so deep. They want to be so deep. They changing everything around, man.
Yeah, and it's not the proper study, but that's why we gotta study to show ourselves approved.
God.
So real quick, right? Because that's pretty much all I got. But somebody did ask. I want to bring this up because we did mention Passover, so I might as well just. What happened? Oh, am I back? Kind of glitched a little bit.
Yeah, you was never gone. You good?
Oh, so somebody did ask about this, and we did briefly mention Passover. So somebody asked, have you brothers read 2 Chronicles 30 about them keeping the Passover in the 2nd month and the Most High? Let's get this. 2 Chronicles 30. Just real brief. 2 Chronicles 30.
Let's get to it.
Just real quick.
2 Chronicles 30, right? Yeah.
Yeah, 2 Chronicles chapter 30.
What verse?
I'll start from verse 1.
This is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapter 30, verse 1.
For the context.
And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of the Lord at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto the Lord God of Israel. For the king had taken counsel, and his princes and all the congregation in Jerusalem to keep the Passover in the 2nd month. For they could not keep it at the time, because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently. Neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem. And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation. So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, for Beersheba, even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Lord God of Israel at Jerusalem. For they had not done it of a long time in such sort as it was written.
So real quick, you can stop there, right? So they did keep the Passover in the second month. And you ask if the Most High accepted it, the answer is yes. And here's why. Let's go to Numbers chapter 9, verse 9. Numbers chapter 9, verse 9. Here's the answer to your question. Did the Most High accept it? Remember, it says that they didn't keep it in the first time because why? The priests were unclean and then they were too far away, right? Paraphrasing. So let's get the stipulation. You're supposed to keep it in the first month if you can. You're supposed to, but here's the stipulation to that.
Mhm. It's the book of Numbers. It's the book of Numbers, chapter 9 and verse 9.
Mm-hmm.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If any man of you, of your posterity, shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey far off, yet
Mm-hmm.
he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
The
Keep going.
14th day of the second, so like the 14th day of the second month
Read
at
again.
even, the 14th day of the second month.
Right. So
At,
remember, it says if anybody is unclean by reason of a dead body, or if you're not ritually clean, because Most High has spiritual purification laws. So if you was unclean, you couldn't keep it in the first month. Or if the journey was too far away, you couldn't make it, you couldn't keep it in the first month. The Most High says what? Verse 11 again.
verse 11, the 14th day of the second month at even they shall keep it,
Mm-hmm.
and eat it with unleavened bread and bitter herbs.
Mm-hmm. Verse 12, and that's it.
They shall leave none of it unto the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to
Mm-hmm.
all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it.
So the answer is yes, the Most High did accept it.
Mm,
But these the only two stipulations as to when you can keep it in the second month. For no other
With
reason.
valid, with valid reason, yeah.
God,
You know,
these are only two conditions where you keep the Passover in the second month. And that's the same thing that was happening in Second Chronicles. They was unclean, they couldn't keep it, they wasn't ready, and it was too far off. That's why the Most High accepted it, and they was able to do it that. So
mm,
this, just to answer that quick question, because we did briefly touch on Passover, so it's only right. But basically, these are the fall feasts that's coming up. You have
uh,
trumpets, which is the first day of the seventh month. We blew a trumpet, just the new moon. Then you have Day of Atonement, which follows 10 days or 9 days afterwards. And then you have Tabernacles on the 15th day of the same month. These are the fall feasts that we're supposed to keep. We keep it with gladness, we keep it with joy, and have a holy gathering. Because these are the laws the Most High gave us. This is how we keep the laws righteously and set apartly at its proper time. So that's pretty much all I got.
mm.
If you want to add something else, but that's
Nah,
all I got.
nah, not at all, man. That's what more can we say? The
Con.
scripture spoke for itself. We just elaborated on it.
Hey, and real quick, since we're talking about it, I might as well get the dates because
Calm.
that's important, ain't it? That's very important, right? So, so if anybody wondering, I don't know how anybody's going to keep it or on what days, but if y'all was wondering on when we keep it for our trumpets, that's October the 7th at even. That's when the first light come in after the equinox. Then after that, for atonement, it's the 16th at even. And then for the tabernacles, it's the 21st through the 29th, even to even.
Uh,
21st at even through 29th. And I could probably drop it in the comment section when it's over.
Hey, I
But
was about to say, I'm not sure how to do it. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's not hard to do it, but you know how on YouTube we can post now. Maybe we could post the calendar, on YouTube
oh
so
yeah, you're
everybody
right.
can
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
We can make posts.
yeah,
Right.
calm,
Kind of forgot
calm.
about that.
Yeah, so
But yeah, we can so like we can post that for
yeah,
anybody who not sure when to keep it. And like I said, later on, Lord willing, I do want to do a lesson addressing just the calendar, the proper calendar, and how to read it. So just a heads up, we will be going into Enoch. We'll be dealing with that because we need that. We need Enoch. I don't care what nobody says. You need the book of Enoch to understand how the sun and the moon works. I don't care.
yeah.
You need the book of Enoch to understand how the sun and how the moon works in their course. Guess what? The nations, they have it. Esau,
Mm-hmm.
America, they follow
Yeah.
the same guidelines to know when the equinox and the solstice and how the sun and the moon works. They got it from the book of Enoch. They read
Yeah.
it, studied it, and watched it. So, Lord willing, later on, I'll do lesson on that because you need that to understand the course of the sun and the moon to know when to track your holy
Mm-hmm.
days. You need that book.
Yeah.
You need
That's
that book.
real.
So,
I definitely, Enoch is one of the books where it's like, how do you deny that one?
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
How do you deny that? You know,
Gone.
man.
God. So just a heads up, we will be dealing with that later on.
Mhm.
The Most High allowed me to do that lesson, but just for now, and like I said, I'll try to post it if y'all, if y'all know when to keep it. Again, trumpets October the 7th at even, Day of Atonement October the 16th at even, and Tabernacles October 21st through 29th at even. Those are our dates according to the new moon after the fall equinox. So, but that's pretty much all I got, man.
October about to be jumping.
Yup. And guess what? It's gonna be cold too. So,
Yeah, I
it's
don't
ready
think
to
it's gonna
get
be too
cold.
cold though. You know, I don't think it's gonna be
No
too
willing.
too cold. It's gonna, it's gonna be a nice little, yeah. But I
It's
don't
gonna be
think it's gonna
nippy.
be,
It's gonna be
yeah,
nippy.
yeah. It ain't gonna be freezing or nothing like that. We'll
God,
be
God,
alright.
God,
You know what I
God.
mean?
So that's pretty much it, Israel. So if you can keep tabernacles out in the woods, out in the wilderness for the full experience, you also can keep it in your house. There's no error in that.
Yeah,
So
man.
these the 4 feasts approaching, man. Israel, get ready for it. Get your mind ready for it. Start meditating on it. Start reading up on it
Uh,
and prepare for it because it's going to be a fun time coming up on.
hey, man. You know what? Forget it, man. I'm gonna say it. I'm just say it, man. Hey, man. Get baptized, all right?
Oh man, that's all I got, man. That's all I got. So Israel, Lord
Shalom.
willing,
Shalom.
Israel, Lord willing, this was edifying and brought some understanding.
Yeah,
Um,
that's real.
it's the ground for study. If you want to go back and look into it for yourselves, I encourage that. Don't take our word for it. Study for
Always.
yourselves. You know. So this is the point of study. What we bring it out. Just the point of
Mhm.
study. So that's all I got, man. Israel, y'all continue to enjoy your Sabbath. Lord willing, it's peaceful and blessful. And Shabbat Shalom. Keep riding this
Uh,
thing out and endure to the end. Until next time, Lord willing.
hey, hey, from Shabbat to Shabbat, we can make it. All
Khan.
right.
Shalom.
Shalom.